Hi, this is Bobby Ryan of the Detroit Red Wings, and you are listening to Empty Betters with Nick, Mac, and Harrison.
Good morning, everybody, and I mean that quite literally this time. Welcome back to episode 76 of Empty Betters. I'm your host, Harrison Scholes. I'm going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, Nick Manella. How we doing, buddy?
Morning.
Good morning. For those who are not watching the video right now, we are up at the crack ass of dawn getting this done on Friday, May 14th. The early morning recordings are going to have to start happening with the jam-packed schedule we all have, so we appreciate
It's cool.
you guys.
I feel like we're like one small step away from like radio right now. I'm like,
yeah, feels like it's a job.
Yeah, I got my cup of mud, and that's all that's in there. I promise. Wink, wink. But yeah, here we go.
All righty, and I'm going to toss it across the screen to my other co-host, Mac Vogel. How we doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right, all things considered. I will mention that it's 1 hour earlier here too, so I'm just that much more of a go-getter this morning. But I'm ready to talk hockey as always. I can talk hockey any time of the day, even if it's 6 a.m. So ready to get this thing going. I'm excited for playoffs tomorrow.
Love that energy, absolutely. And we have reoccurring guests and special Islanders fan. I'll use the word special with quotes around it. Dean Peluso, thank you for joining the show. We appreciate it. How you doing?
Doing great. Thank you guys for having me back again. Thrilled to be back on. Just excited to talk some hockey, get into the playoffs.
Are you excited to talk to me about hockey? Or
yeah,
okay.
I can't wait.
Okay, I was just making sure. we have a good series coming up, so we'll get to all that shortly. Before we get rolling here, just want to say that this episode of Empty Betters is brought to you by Brackish Life. If you're like us and grew up on the water and outdoors, then Brackish Life is perfect for you. They have a wide selection of gear from UV shirts to hoodies and hats. It's Real Bay apparel made by Real Bay people. Head to www.brackish.life today to check them out. A little salty, a little fresh, Brackish Life. Brackish Life has also teamed up with Rink to Reef Chesapeake Bay to preserve the area many of us call home. Rink to Reef repurposes broken hockey sticks into oyster restoration habitats. Brackish Life donates a portion of their proceeds to Rink to Reef to further preserve the beautiful Chesapeake Bay area. Support this great cause by checking out www.brackish.life today. Rocking the visor right now, early morning. Let's get it.
Looks good,
Nick,
man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Letting the hair grow out a little bit.
Yeah,
it's all good.
Which college football team are you coaching this fall?
Yeah, I look like I'm taking over Harbaugh's job. So.
Right.
Nick, I'm going to toss it off to you to drive the bus for the quick league news before we start getting to the fun stuff.
Yeah, just a couple things to get to. The Rangers added to their stellar performance over the last 2 weeks by firing their coach. I think I was a little bit surprised that this happened now, but I guess they're just sort of in the mentality where they're like, fuck it. Just if we don't like something, might as well change it now. Cause our perceived image can't really get much worse. So,
we'll see what the replacement comes out to be. I'm hearing Gallant's probably the favorite, but
and I think that I think Quinn will end up getting another job somewhere.
Oh yeah, I like I said last episode, I don't think he should have gotten shafted, but it is what it is.
I also saw something that if Brindamore doesn't go back to Carolina, that the Rangers would make him an offer.
Oh, of course, that's just the most New York thing to do. Is big market, big name.
Yeah, completely agree. The Minnesota Wild's blue chip prospect, Marco Rossi, has been given the green light to start skating again. He had like a really, really bad situation with COVID. I don't know if you guys read about this, but he got COVID in like November and was ready to suit up for Austria at the World Juniors. He's like by far and away the best player, I think, to come out of that country probably in the last 20 or 30 years. He participated in like 4 games, and then the doctors told him if he had like played one more game, he probably would have died. So he like wrote this like huge article about like how every time he like went to sleep at night, he like didn't think he was going to wake up and stuff like that. So it's really scary. So great to see him start skating again. Minnesota drafted him 9th overall in 2020 after he tallied, ready for this, 120 points in 56 games in the OHL.
Yeah, that's pretty
Gamer.
nuts.
That's
good.
Gamer.
That's
for
a
him.
stupid stat right there.
Yeah, good to see that he's skating again. I read that article you were talking about. It's pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, for sure. One injury to get to of significance. Obviously, we know everything going on with the Caps. Oshie is apparently returned to practice and could potentially be ready for game one, although between you and me, I don't see that happening. Nathan McKinnon is out the last 2 games of the regular season after re-aggravating a lower body injury. Knowing him, I don't expect him to miss playoff time, or at least significant playoff time for the Avs. So I would expect him to be ready to go by game one.
Yeah, absolutely. I would be shocked if he wasn't in game one.
Yep. I really think that's all the little, housekeeping tidbits we have between injuries and news. I think we kind of just want to, get this thing going here with the playoff preview. So just so everyone is up to speed, the first 2 rounds of this year's playoffs are going to be played just like the regular season was. It's just going to be interdivisional. After a winner is crowned from those 4 divisions, the final 4, if you want to call them that, are going to be completely reseeded by their regular season record. So you could have, East, West, West, East, whatever you want to call it. It's not going to look like it has in the past. With number 1 taking on number 4, number 2 facing number 3. The winners of those 2 meet in the cup final. Pretty simple. What division do you guys want to start with? Should we just start with the West?
Yeah, let's start with the West. We'll go down. Before we start, by the way, I want to give a shout out, Mac, to your buddy Connor. Played him last night. Thank you for saying hi after the game. Love meeting the listeners. I told him I would, so I know guys know my brain. I'll go mush. So
Nice.
Shout out to him. Thank you. Yeah, you want to start West?
Yeah, might as well. So all of these just wrapped up last night. We finally figured out that, what the last couple matchups for the West were going to be. The first series we have is the number 1 seed Colorado Avalanche and the number 4 seed St. Louis Blues. The Avs won that season series 5-3, and Max scored more goals and had the most points against the Blues this season with 14 points. 6 Genos, 8 Apples, and 8 games played. So not bad for McKinnon at all. Those are, I would say, pretty consistent numbers with what we've seen out of him, especially, and I would expect that to continue into the playoffs. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think initially I was kind of saying that I thought the Avalanche were maybe a fake team, maybe a team that would get upset early on in the playoffs. However, I've also said all season long that the St. Louis Blues are a bad hockey team, and I fully believe that. So I can't see Colorado screwing this one up. That's kind of the way I see it right off the bat, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I know we don't have a series price yet because they literally just decided this matchup about 7 hours ago, 5 of which I slept through. So I guess the over-under I'm looking here is how many scrums does Binnington get in 1.5 for the course of the series?
I feel like he's going to come out, I would say under. I feel like he's going to come out with this new sense of
calm, cool, collected.
Yeah, I'm not going to let him get to me this time or something like that. Yeah, that being said, he could, just start a brawl in the first 4 games. So who knows?
I mean, what I'll say is that it looks like so far through the first round, the Maple Leafs have the biggest odds-on favorites at -275 against the Habs. I would anticipate that the Avalanche are somewhere in that stratosphere, perhaps even a little bit heavier favorites, just because I do believe they're the best team on paper in the playoffs. The season series kind of speaks for itself. They won the series 5-3. Most of those wins came in the latter half of the season. If Nate is healthy and the big guns are there to play, especially with the way that Jost and Comfer have played in the last week, I would say Colorado should handle this pretty easily. I would say no more than 6 games at most. I got Avs in 5, honestly. I think they're on a mission this year.
I just think the thing that we have to think about with Colorado, because we saw it last year, we saw it a lot this season, is the health concern.
Yeah.
And it's been a question from the big guns like McKinnon and Rantanen all the way down the lineup, right back to the goaltending with Philip Grubauer. So if everyone stays healthy and everyone, even if they do get banged up, they're only missing 1 or 2 games here and there. I think this team is locked and loaded and ready to go. But that's definitely something to keep your eye on, because if Grubauer gets hurt or a big piece gets hurt, it could really turn this series upside down.
How many games do you think this goes?
I think Avs in 5.
Dean, what do you think?
I think 5. I think we saw that, they kind of knew how important getting the one is. You don't want to play Minnesota first round.
Yeah.
They kind of could have mailed it in like the Bruins did the last game. But yeah, 6-0 and 5-1 back to back against the Kings. So I think they wanted the one to play St. Louis, and I think they're gonna roll them.
Yeah, I'll officially say Avs in 6, just because I think there is a world where the Blues managed to steal 2 games out of this series, but that'll mostly come down to whether or not Binnington has his focused game or not. Like we
I
said
was
before.
gonna say, is that the Blues stealing 2 games or Binnington stealing 2 games?
Right, exactly. It's just been an underwhelming performance for the Blues so far this season, like Mac has alluded to many of times in the past couple episodes. So I think we're all on the same wagon here. Avs in 5, 5, 5, and 6. So we'll move on to the next series. Nick?
Yeah, the number 2 Vegas Golden Knights and the number 3 Minnesota Wild. Vegas went 3-4-1 against the Wild this season, with 2/3 of their wins coming in overtime. The Wild, I think, surprised a lot of people this year. They've just been that pesky team that won't go away, that thorn in people's side. Obviously, they have Kirill the Thrill, standout rookie, who I think will be taking home the Calder Trophy at the end of this year. I guess, to start this off, do you guys think that the Wild could upset the Knights in the first round?
I want to say it could happen just because I like how the Wild have played a lot down the stretch and everything, but I really wish that they had ended up getting matched up with Colorado, actually, because I think they could have been that underdog to upset Colorado. I think Vegas is too much of a powerhouse. This is probably my favorite to win the cup this year is Vegas, honestly. If you look at this team on paper, they are the scariest team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that if you account the overtime loss, the Wild did win the season series. So for whatever that's worth to you, I think we mentioned last episode that this year more than ever, I think you can read into the season series just a little bit more. I think in the past, maybe you give it 40% weight in your decision making, and this year it's probably more like 60 or 70.
Yeah, because the season series in years before would have been they split it 1-1, or it's
Right.
one team won it 2-1.
Yeah.
So it didn't used to matter. Now it does.
I would say this is scary because my gut tells me you always go with the hot goalie. I'm a big goalie believer, Mac. I know you are too, especially when playoff time comes. And Fleury and Lehner have just been the best goaltending tandem in the league all season long, especially with some of the numbers Fleury's put up so far this year.
That's the sole reason that I mentioned that I feel like they are the favorite to win the cup.
Yeah. So when you put it in those terms, I feel like you almost have to pick Vegas, but I don't know, man. I could definitely see a wild upset here. I'd love to know what the odds are on this because I don't think it's as weighted as people might think it is.
I think for bang for your buck, if you're looking for a series price that's got a plus in front of it.
Yeah.
And one that actually could happen,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah. That's not a bad pick.
I don't know. Nick, what do you think?
I think this is similar to the Avs and Blues series. I think the Wild can steal some games here. If all these games start going to overtime, who knows what can happen?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm probably going to say Knights in 6.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. Dean, what do you got?
I think entertainment-wise, this is probably, outside of my own team, the one I'm going to keep an eye on the most in the first round. I do anticipate a lot of overtime games. I think it's going to come down. I think it's going to go 7. I hope that Vegas doesn't just kind of steamroll Minnesota and kind of put an end to their good run this year. But yeah, I'm going with the Wild. I think they're really good. They're tough to put out. We've seen them come back from down 3-0, 2-0 late in games. So I'm gonna ride with Wild and kind of see if they could finish this out.
Wild in 7. I love
Wild
that
in
prediction.
7. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a fun prediction. I'm taking Knights in 6.
Nick, what do you have?
Knights in 6.
I'm gonna go Knights in 7. I do think it'll go 7. I think this is going to be really competitive, and I hate to say this, but if Fleury starts slacking, they can always switch. But you never know what kind of Fleury you're going to get in the playoffs. There's 2 sides to that. So
True.
I'll go Knights in 7.
I will say I agree that it's going to be tough for them. They're going to have to put some goals in on the two goalies. That's the only real concern. But I mean, they've had no problem scoring all year. They're an offensive juggernaut. So
Right.
if they could get some goals, then I like their chances.
I honestly think Vegas probably would have wanted anyone but them. Like they are one team that Vegas kind of struggled with a little bit this year.
Yep.
I'll say one X factor here, and this is a name that not a lot of people know. I think Shea Theodore is a huge part of this series because he's basically Vegas's main puck moving defenseman.
Remember what he did last year in the playoffs, in the bubble playoffs? He made us tons of money is what he did because we kept betting prop bets for him and he would get a point like every game.
Yeah, Pietrangelo steals the spotlight most of the time away from him, but he's a hell of a player and he works that power play really well. So I would keep an eye on Shea Theodore in this series. I think he's going to have a huge impact on whether Vegas goes deep or not.
Yeah, I think a player like that you can look at on the opposite side for the Wild is Joel Eriksson Ek. That guy's just been a giant pain in the ass this year.
Yeah.
Scores a ton of goals too. And, he's just 200 feet the entire game.
Yeah, he's a son of a bitch to play against too.
Yeah.
Shall we move to the Central? This is a fun one.
I'm so excited for this one.
This, I think, is going to be the series that, like, outside of my own, I'm paying attention to the most. It's the Sunshine State rivalry. We have the number 2 Florida Panthers and the number 3 Tampa Bay Lightning. The Panthers are 5-2-1 against the Bolts this season and won the last 3 meetings. And this is the first time these two are meeting in the playoffs. I'm so excited. I think they've come close a couple times, but it's rare that they were actually in the playoffs at the same time. So obviously the big note with Tampa Bay is, are Kucherov and Stamkos going to be ready for game 1? And if you've been reading online, it looks like that they're going to be. So, now it's just a question of what kind of shape they're in. So I would expect those guys to hop right in and not necessarily miss a step.
This series is going to be crazy. It's so exciting to think about. There's literally like a high stakes playoff series battling it out in Florida. Like that's just a really cool thing. So this is a tough one prediction wise because you want to go with the Panthers that have been so hot and they've had the Lightning's number all year. But like you said, the X factor really is Kucherov coming back and Stamkos too.
Yeah, and the shitty part is, like Nick just said, I don't expect them to miss a step. So that's obviously a little bit of a pain in the ass. I would say if Ekblad was healthy, it would really help the Panthers. I know that's going to hurt them. But, man, I just think that the Panthers played so well against them all year. They won the season series basically 5-3. I know that the Lightning probably have the best goaltender in the league in Vasilevsky, but – Panthers have a good 1-2 punch in net. I mean, God forbid something bad happened with Bobrovsky. We know how that can kind of get sometimes a little bit, up and down, similar to Fleury. One guy, X Factor, I'm liking this X Factor part, is Carter Verhaeghe on the Panthers. Not a name that,
He had a great year, yeah.
Not a name that a lot of guys know, but he's like the perfect second liner on that team. He's been a stud all season. I think that he is going to play a large part in the Panthers having either success or failure in this series. I mean, defensively, obviously the Lightning have Hedman, they have McDonough, they've got all the big names. You got to give the Lightning basically the nod on goaltending and defense. I think offense is a little closer than people might expect it to be. Barkov, Huberdeau, guys who get overlooked all the time. I don't know. I said last episode, I'm going to stand by it. I just feel like this is the Cats is here to make some noise, and I'm going to stand by that, and I'm going to have to pick the Panthers in this one. I'm going to ponder on how many games while you guys discuss.
I'm going Cats in 7. Part of that is because I want something to root for. I'm probably going to take the Cats in this series just so I have that added, motivation when I'm watching these games. But I don't know. I just feel like it's the playoffs. We've seen the Lightning, have shaky starts in the first round before. I'm rooting for chaos at this point. So
I think so too. And something that this has no actual merit as far as like, other than just like superstition type things. But like the fact that the Dallas Stars didn't make the playoffs this season also just makes me feel like the cup winning team is also going to like get bounced early or something like that. Just, it feels like one of those years where the two teams that were like battling out last year, like aren't really the two teams to worry about this year for some reason. But I'm gonna probably go with the Cats in I'll say 7. I mean, the Lightning are just a son of a bitch team. Like you're just not gonna beat them in less than 6 or 7 probably. So I'll go Cats in 7.
Yeah, I'm going Cats in 6. I think they kind of have Tampa's number this year. I think, we obviously know how tough it is to repeat as cup champs. And based on the rivalry this year, I have no real reason to believe that Tampa's going to kind of hold their own against Florida. We talked about Huberdeau and Barkov. Huberdeau might be the most underrated superstar in the league.
Easily.
And yeah, Tampa's D is okay. They're going to need to score to win. Florida's going to put up, 3-4, no problem. I don't see a way where Tampa can kind of.
This Florida team has been finding the back of the net all year long. Like they score goals on
Florida.
I feel like they played
all year.
Yeah, exactly. They put a lot of high
now that's
scoring
partly
games.
because their D isn't great, but I think this team can score, man. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm going Florida. And I will say for betting purposes with Tampa, it's kind of like betting the Yankees in baseball, where you have like that name brand association. So you're paying a premium every time you bet them. So I'm going with Florida.
All right, I have a gambling follow-up question. Do we think that there's any way that the Cats drop the first game and that we should wait to take them for the series until it's 1-0?
Oh,
I could see it happening. I could see it happening.
Yeah. I like it.
That's tough. Yeah, I would do that. If the Cats went down 1-0, I would still take them live in the series.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Cats in 6. I agree with Dean. I think that this year the Panthers just seem like they have that hunger, that attitude. They got the right mindset. They look like they're a team determined to make some noise. And with Tampa, I mean, I imagine Kucherov and Stamkos won't miss a step, but who knows? Maybe they won't be as good as they could be if they were healthy for all season or the most recent 2 weeks for Stammer's purposes. But Hedman makes it hard. Obviously, he's the best defenseman in the league, in my opinion, and he just eats a ton of minutes. So I guess we'll see. But we need Keith Yandle to just go off, and that's what's going to be the key here. So, and Patrick Hornquist too. Don't sleep on him in front of the net on the power play. I think he's going to make some noise.
He's a son of a bitch to play against too.
Can't stand him. Absolutely hate him.
Let's not forget that not too long ago the Lightning were drinking and throwing the cup in
I was going to say, so I love
let's see how they hold up in the playoffs after quite the offseason.
You made a good point about how hard it is to repeat. And we saw what happened to the Caps after their big party session all year. And then the first round exit to Carolina. So it happens. Yeah. I think the Cats will definitely come through with this one.
I like how all 4 of us know that Tampa's the better team and they're getting their 2 best players back. And we're still all in agreement that the Panthers are somehow
that's hockey, baby. That's
Tampa's going to win in 4 now.
Right.
Yeah, right. We just mushed Florida's chances.
Right.
Yeah.
Who would be your X factor for either team? Harry, I like that. Give me one for the Cats, give me one for the Bolts.
Mine for the Cats is Verhaeghe. Bolts. I'm gonna go Matthew Joseph.
For me, it's Cirelli for the Bolts.
Yep, good answer.
He's just going to score a big goal late, and it's going to piss me off.
Yeah.
I'd say got to be Vasilevsky for the Lightning. He's had an amazing year. Like he's looks nothing but amazing to me all year, except and this is a very minor thing, but recently I saw him make one of those plays where he just came behind the net to stop the puck, and then he literally just had the most lazy giveaway to some guy. And granted, it was a week ago where Lightning knew they were going to make the playoffs anyway. But if he gets lazy like that, which he can, that's obviously going to be a problem for them. So I feel like as long as Vasilevsky's on his game, that's why it'll take seven or so games for the Lightning for the Cats to knock them out. For the Panthers, I might have to say Hornquist. Honestly, I think he's a really good postseason guy. He's a perfect guy to have on your team this time of year. And he can just totally be an X factor in a series like that.
Yeah, Dean, I'm going to have to agree with you. I'm going to take Cirelli for the Bolts. If any of those games go to overtime and you guys are live betting, just live bet him to get the overtime winner because he's probably going to.
Love that pick, yeah.
And you can get it at a plus 600, plus 500. It's worth it. For the Cats, It's weird, but I'm gonna have to say Huberdeau. Like, I feel like I could go Bobrovsky, but I feel like he's not an X factor. He's a question mark. I feel like if Huberdeau continues to play the way he's played this regular season into the playoffs, then I think the Cats have a legitimate chance to win that series.
He's got to keep it going. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost, I think that's the one thing we're all for trying to like say, and maybe haven't said it yet, is it's just this momentum feel with the Cats. Like, yes, we know the Lightning are the better team. We know that their star players have been there, done that, and are better than the Florida star players. But it's just that momentum feel. You feel it. You feel it this season. You feel that charisma. You feel that they're going to make some noise and maybe get to the Final Four for the first time, or since, I was negative 2 months old. So,
yeah, it's like, do we think they're going to make like a deep cup run? Probably not. But do they have enough talent and skill to cause a first round upset? Absolutely.
We'll see. I don't know. I could see Florida Final Four. I think they can make some noise, but
really. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the last one for the Central, the number 4 Nashville Predators and the number 1 Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes won their first 6 meetings. However, after Carolina had already clinched the division, Nashville won the last 2 meetings last week. The Preds were arguably the hottest team in the league in the last 1 to 1.5 months, and Carolina hasn't been far behind. This one, I feel like, is the question mark out of all the series that we're going to cover today. This one is one that, honestly, I think is going to be some good hockey to watch. I feel like on paper you might be like, but it really, for me, it comes down to Carolina's questionable goaltending versus Nashville and UC Saros.
This is such a hard series to pick because, like you said, one half of me wants to go with the Preds because they've just been so hot for the last month and a half. I've watched a handful of their games in that last month and a half stretch they've had, and they look good, man. Like, they look scary. All their guys are firing on all cylinders. UC Saros has easily been the best goalie in the second half of the season. There was that stat about he let in 2 or fewer goals in 10 games in a row or some shit like that. Like, he's just been a stud. However, the Canes, I don't know, they're a scary team too. Like you said, if their goaltending can hold up, maybe, I don't know. I'm going to have to think about this one for a second before I lock in my pick, honestly.
I'm a big fan of riding the hot hand. And I know this sounds a little hypocritical because I think in our mid-season predictions, I said Carolina should be the favorite to win the cup, but this is not a good matchup for them. And I'll tell you, it's mostly because Saros has been lights out through the last 2 months of the season. And Nashville does have the experience of going deep, getting to the cup final. I think their defensive core is maybe not quite as good as Carolina's, but it's right there. Like, if you put Carolina at the top, Nashville's got to be number 3 or 4 or 5 in the league. I guess my big question is, we know that Nashville has some semi-big names that can play. You've got Arvidsson, you've got Forsberg, you've got these guys, you got Yossi, you've got these guys that are established. My question is, Matt Duchene had a pretty shit season, and he's just same with Johansson. I think he was your 4th liner, Nick, 7 times this season.
Yeah, 8 actually.
Yeah, so my question is, can these 2 guys turn it on for Nashville? Because if they can, all of a sudden they go from being a one-line team to, maybe having some more depth from their goal scorers.
Are they healthy? For a while, Forsberg was injured there at the end of the season. Are they fully healthy? Does anybody know offhand?
I think
that's a big thing too. If he's good to go,
I mean,
I think
he's good to go. I mean, that can mean 80%.
But he might be fucked up.
Yeah. I feel like, Harry, you make a great point, and we've seen this team do this before. I mean, we saw it when they went to the cup run. A lot of, that they had, a lot of those pieces are still there. They've been pretty much a staple in the second, third round of the Western Conference section of the playoff bracket for the last 5 years. So, yeah, a lot of those pieces are still there. They can certainly wake up and produce. It's just that they haven't been doing it for.
Am I correct that they didn't, did they have an early exit this past the bubble playoffs, or what did they do this past season? They
played the Yotes in a qualifying matchup.
And I think
they lost, didn't they? Yeah, because then the Yotes got smacked by
Avalanche. I think.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that might work in their favor too, right? They've had a much longer off season than a lot of other teams, and they're kind of just chilling.
Dean, what do you
Yeah.
think?
I think this one comes down to depth. I mean, the Preds top two, I'll give them two lines are pretty solid, and their top D pair is obviously good with Yossi and Ekholm. But after that, it's a pretty significant drop off. And then
Yeah.
Carolina is just deep throughout. They got horses to go all day. So I think Carolina just wears them out. I think Kane's in 6, maybe 5.
That's what my brain says, but
Yeah.
my heart is telling me something different.
But it's going to come down to Saros, though, because he could easily steal a game or two.
Yeah. Nick, what do you think?
Preds in 7.
Oh my God. Mac?
Wow.
I'm going Canes in 7, and I want to say Canes in 6, but the only reason it goes 7 is Mr. UC Saros.
I fully expect to be completely wrong, but I'm solely making that prediction on UC Saros. I think he's going to be the goalie that just continues the hot hand and steals some games here.
Honestly, I can't pick against Carolina, even though I will say if there's one series where I'm betting an underdog, I think this is the most likely to have an upset. That's my personal opinion. Plus 190 for the Preds is a great price too. But I can't go against Rod Brindamore. You know that he's got teams ready to go. They're probably the best conditioned team, and like Dean said, they've got stallions.
They're
all down
too
the lineup.
pesky. They're too,
Yeah.
like Dean said, they're too deep. That's a team that like it's built for the playoffs. Honestly, it just is.
Carolina in 6. Yeah.
Who are your X factors?
You go first. Let me think on that. I'm gonna ponder.
For the Canes, I'm going to have to say I'm going to go with Aho. And I know that's weird because you would think of him as like
He's like
you
their
know,
star player.
yeah, just sort of staple. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to go with him.
I'm gonna go with Vinny Trocheck. He has
It's a good
been
one.
an absolute monster this season. He did have a little bit of an injury issue, I think, nagging towards the end of the season. He was in and out of the lineup a little bit. I don't think it's anything too serious though, because I mean, when he came back, he was still scoring goals. So I think if he stays as hot as he has, I mean, he on the power play and everything, he's just been like doing crazy numbers all year. So for Carolina, I'll say Trocheck.
For the Preds, I feel like it's Saros is the X factor. You know,
Oh yeah.
if he's
gotta
on,
be.
they win. If he's
No-brainer.
not, they don't.
I'll say for the Canes, and obviously I think goaltending is a big deal. Who's that? I can't pronounce his name. The rookie goalie for them. Starts with an-
Nedeljkovic.
Nedeljkovic, yeah.
Yeah, he's looked sick this year. So
Yeah, he's got like he has like a bunch of shutouts, doesn't he?
I think he's gonna start. Am I
I think
crazy?
he has like
for
4
saying?
shutouts.
I think
this
he
year
is.
or
He won
something
the
like that.
he won the Calder Cup, I think, with the Charlotte Checkers too. A couple.
I mean,
of years ago.
based on what I've read, I didn't know if it was gonna be him or Reimer, but it sounds like it's.
I think
Mrazek, I'm
Is
sorry.
Mrazek still out with the broken hand or whatever? Like, is there any timetable for that? Or because last I checked, he's like just nowhere. Like, I think it's just Reimer and Nedeljkovic.
right.
Yeah.
I would assume Nedeljkovic would get the
Yeah.
nod, but
I'm going to say Dougie Hamilton, and I only say that because he had such a stellar year, and I feel like for the Canes to not only win this series but go deep in general, he's their main offensive defenseman, and that's the name of the game for me other than goaltending. You got to have that puck mover. I said it was Shea Theodore. I'm going to say it with Dougie Hamilton. I think that's pretty big.
yeah, good point. And
Stole
I
it
think,
right from me.
Yeah.
But I think kind of what I alluded to before, if the top line for Nashville is not scoring, it's going to be tough for them to get anything going. So if they can kind of shut that top line down, Dougie Hamilton can lock Forsberg down. I think, Haynes handled them pretty easily.
Going up north.
Let's do it. The fun
Alrighty,
stuff.
so for the first time in 42 years, the two biggest hockey markets are going to meet in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So the number 1 Toronto Maple Leafs and the number 4 Montreal Canadiens. Toronto won this season series going 7-2-1 against the Habs. Tavares and Nylander are hot right now. It's not just Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. Those big 4 are firing on all cylinders. What do you guys think about this? I think that a lot of people are saying, oh, Carey Price could steal this series, but do you actually think that the Habs could knock the Leafs off?
Well, earlier Harry was talking about the best underdog pick and the best value and all that. I don't hate the Habs at plus 210 here. I mean, that I understand the Leafs, whatever, Matthews, we're all freaking out about it all year long because it's the Leafs, but like the Habs at plus 210, that's awfully juicy. Like that is a good value. I think they're a little bit underrated here. I'm not saying they're necessarily going to upset them and win the series, but how long has it been since Toronto won a playoff series?
It's been
A long
minute.
time.
Yeah, the Habs know how to win in the playoffs a little more than the Leafs do, at least in recent years.
So, Harry, I want to get your thoughts on this one because, one, I could see you physically squirming when Mac was talking, but two, because you've also adopted the Leafs as like your pseudo team that you're rooting for this year, which I love. And then
Well, and
because
Max adopted the Habs as his pseudo
right,
team this
Yeah,
year.
and
go
Mac
Habs,
and I,
baby.
Mac and I picked the Habs to make the playoffs over the Canucks, and the Habs were the team that knocked your Penguins out of the qualifiers last year. So I want to hear, like, is this just like fully all in on the Leafs, like exercise your demons and be done with it? Like, what's the word?
Well, we keep talking. Name of the game of this episode: puck moving defenseman, hot goalie. There is no hotter goalie than Jack Campbell, who, without a doubt, is going to start game one. I know Freddie Anderson.
100%.
Yeah, he's 17-2 in his last 19.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty fucking unreal. So, yeah, Leafs in 5.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, this is not the COVID Cup here. All right. I mean, Montreal had a losing record. They squeaked in because I think the bottom half of this division just kind of got shit canned, whether it's with COVID or just, they're not there yet, like Ottawa. I think the Leafs are going to handle this in 5. I think the power play for the Leafs is going to be a huge storyline for this. I don't see Toronto struggling too much, to be
Do
honest.
it, Mac. Do it.
You don't see them struggling too much with Mr. Corey Perry and Mr. Eric Stahl over there. Are you forgetting that this is actually kind of a deep hockey team? I think you're not giving the Habs enough credit here. I don't know.
They're pesky. They are pesky.
The Leafs are so pent up with just this like frustration that needs to be like, just fucking pushed out of them like a demon. And I think that it's going to happen this series. And I think they're going to go off. I really do. Toronto, everybody has every reason to doubt them. So if you do, I don't blame them. But I think with Thornton, Spezza, Simmons, these guys who are veteran presence that, aren't afraid to muck it up and get in there. I like the Leafs. I've said it all year long, and I'm going to take them in 5 for this series. I will say, and I'm being perfectly transparent, I am not going to bet them. Minus 275 is too big of a price for me. If you have the money, go for it. So
fair enough. Yeah, I think no, you're right. I like to play devil's advocate, and especially with, like you said, I've been cheering on the Habs all year. I think they're a fun team, but I think this is one where Toronto will come out on top. I think it'll go 6 though. I think it'll be a solid series, and Carey Price always finds a way to win a couple of games here and there. So as long as he's healthy and starting, I think Leafs in 6.
If the Leafs don't make it out of the North this year, I think they should just kind of fold as a franchise. Because just looking at some of the matchups here, they really lucked out. Canadians, I don't think are that good at all. And then the other North matchups, not that great either. I think Leafs handle them pretty well. I'll go Leafs in 6. Maybe Caulfield and Suzuki and Toffoli can kind of steal a game or two. But I think the Leafs are too deep and too good.
It's a great point.
Dean, you bring up a great point there with Nick Suzuki. That's going to be my X factor for the Habs. And I think the Leafs get it done finally. I think it's still going to take them 7 games to do it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And the real winner is going to be Leafs Twitter in 7 games.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Hyman is my X factor.
Yeah, easily for Toronto, Zach Hyman.
And he's coming back off injuries. So they play the Jets tonight as a non-important game. I'm sure they'll bench all their starters, but I'd be curious to see if Hyman returns just to get some game action in before we get rolling.
I'm gonna go Jack Campbell as my my X factor, just because the playoffs are a different thing. You never know. That's one way that maybe Montreal does come out on top, is if somehow Jack Campbell shits the bed. It's not likely based on the way he's been playing, but
unproven playoff goaltender.
Never know,
yeah.
All right. Next one in the North, we have the number 2 Edmonton Oilers and the number 3 Winnipeg Jets. Like I said last episode, I don't know how that team made the playoffs, but somehow they did. They're pretty much the coldest team entering this postseason, I would say. And McDavid is in like planetary form right now. The Oilers won this season series 7-2. McDavid had more points against Winnipeg than any other team this season, netting 22 points, 7 goals and 15 assists in just 9 games played. So what can Connor Hellebuck do to keep this team afloat for more
Nothing.
than 4
Not a
games?
single thing.
Yeah.
That's
This
what
is
I was
the-
gonna say. It's Hellebuck is the only thing that is even making this a question mark at all. But
This is the one series that I would say you should be betting as a lock. I don't throw maybe I throw that out a little too often, but yeah, you got Toronto at 275. That's a big price. I mean, you've got Colorado, they're going to be a big price. I firmly believe the Oilers will handle the Jets very easily, and they're only at minus 185. So
I was gonna say the exact same thing. Oilers serious price, Oilers
yeah.
money line, Oilers
Yeah.
puck line, Oilers team total over every single game.
McDavid 2 points.
Yep.
Every game.
Just
But
love-
now the fact that me and you both agree, might have to go Winnipeg.
well, here's the thing, though. I mean, it's tempting to bet all those things and for the Oilers to score a buttload of goals, but you got to remember it is Connor Hellebuck. It's kind of tough to pick like a team to score a whole bunch of goals against a guy like that. He's such a solid goaltender.
It really is when you think about it. It's kind of a series of 2 people. It's McDavid against Hellebuck. It's like, can they stop McDavid from putting 3 in the net each night? And can Hellebuck keep more than like 3 pucks out of it?
It's which guy can do his job better.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah.
Well, considering McDavid had basically 2.5 points per game against the Jets this season, I'll take my money and I'll put it on Connor. I'm just saying, like I said this, the Oilers are not programmed. They're not designed to go deep because of their lack of depth, but there is 0 chance that McDavid's going to get out in the first round against the coldest team in the NHL. I just can't see that happening. So
I don't see them blowing this like they blew it last year.
rent payment on the Oilers. You can take it from me.
Also, the NHL is just sitting like at their desks, just stroking it, thinking of Oilers Leafs in the second round.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going
McDavid,
to say.
Matthews,
Yeah.
yeah.
Are the refs going to be fixing things? You know, to get that matchup? Let's see.
Oh my God. So yeah. All right. Series predictions. Where do we stand?
I'll go Oilers in 5. Whatever.
I was going to say Oilers in 5.
Same. Oilers in 5.
I'm gonna say 6. I think maybe Hellebuck steals 1 in overtime or something.
And then
I think clearly everybody's X factor seems to be McDavid and Hellebuck, right?
Pretty much.
And then the talk of the town is going to be after the Oilers win, like, oh my God, are they a serious contender? Can they?
Oh my
build it?
God, kill
And
me
then-
now.
And then
We'll
they're
have-
going to get smacked.
And then we'll have to deal with that. But okay, yeah, Oilers. in
I
five.
will say before we move out of the Canadian division here, everybody's been talking about, well, we have no idea how like some teams are going to play against each other once you're out of the division bracket. Talk about what's going to happen when the probably the Leafs make it out of the Canadian bracket. I think they're going to get smacked by
Just
everybody
swatted.
else. By the Golden Knights, probably are going to just absolutely demolish them.
Yeah.
I think that's going to expose the North as being really not that good. I don't think it's really up for debate that they're the worst division in the league this year.
Yeah.
The other divisions are just so deep, and yeah, whoever gets lucky enough to face Toronto, I think they steamroll them.
Yikes.
All right, let's move into the East. So we have the number 1 seed Pittsburgh Penguins and the number 4 seed New York Islanders. The Islanders are 2-4-2 against the Penguins this year. The teams have not played since the end of March. The Islanders swept the Penguins in the 2019 first round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs, and the Penguins are now 100% fully healthy for the first time this season. This series is of particular concern to 2 of the gentlemen on this podcast, so I will let you start it off, Harrison.
I'll guess first. You know, I'm a
right.
good host.
Oh, man, where to begin? Well, I'm just happy that every single person that I've heard has completely written off the Islanders because there's really nothing to lose at this point, including, I will give you credit, Harrison. I think you're the only one on this show that has kind of given them some respect. Maybe you have
Thank
some
you.
scar tissue from 2019 a little bit.
A lot.
Yeah, but I don't know. It all comes down to scoring. You know, their goaltenders are good. Missing Lee is obviously huge. They've been just kind of pathetic offensively. They haven't really gotten anything going.
Is Anders not going to be ready for the series, or?
No, he's out till I think like October 1st was his date.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
he tore his ACL completely.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Since he went out, you know how many times they've scored over 3 goals in 27 games?
Once.
6 times.
Wow.
Okay, that's not as bad as I thought you were going to say, but
Well,
it's still
they-
not good though.
2 of them are against the Rangers, and they play the Devils and the Sabres. So
Okay.
they should probably score a little more than that. It just concerns me that Barry's been kind of tinkering with the lines for the past month or so since Lee's out, and he still hasn't really figured anything out. I mean, Leo Komarov is on the first line right now,
Bro.
with Barzal and Eberle.
They have got
I
to
just
get that
can't
guy
understand
out of
it.
there. Like, honestly, as an Islander fan, do you like him?
As a fourth liner, yeah. As a
Okay,
first line
fair enough.
left winger, no.
No, yeah.
But it's gonna come down to scoring. I think their second line needs to step up in a huge way. Barzal's been kind of quiet. Brock Nelson hasn't scored in months. He broke a 13-game scoreless drought. And then the role players need to step up. Palmieri's been just brutal. Only 4 points since he came over. And the only reason I don't have concern is that we've seen them hold teams to 2 goals. I think Nick will remember last year when they played Philly in Game 7. They had offensive weapons, Scott Mayfield and Andy Green scoring their 2 goals. So
Elite NHL sniper Andy
elite
Green.
NHL goal scorers in an elimination game. So that's my concern with the team. I think Pittsburgh's deep, man. They're so good. They're so quick. They're so fast.
Is Varley good to go?
Yeah, he's good to go.
Okay.
Yep. Barry said it was kind of just a precautionary thing.
Gotcha.
And they have a really solid 1-2 with Varley and Sorokin. So those 2 guys are the X factors. If they can hold them to 2 goals a game, I like the Islanders' chances of getting lucky and putting a few in, but it's going to be tough for them to score.
My question to you is, so Harrison saw what the Islanders can do to a team in 2019. Mac and I saw what the Islanders can do to a team last year. What are they going to bring to the table that's going to help them do that again to the Penguins?
Yeah, well, that's my question too. You're going to need Beauvillier and Brock Nelson's line to score at least a goal or 2 a game.
Okay.
Because you can try and stop Crosby, Malkin, Gensel, all those guys, but they're going to get theirs. Scott Mayfield will get walked by Crosby for a goal or 2 a game. So, yeah, it's going to be – they need to find ways to kind of muck it up and get some pucks in the net and try and get lucky and knock some in. That's really it. Their offense is piss poor, pathetic. They got nothing going.
You're scaring me because you're talking bad about your team, which means they're probably going to play really good. So I know how this goes. I seriously have like trauma from 2019. Eberle is a gamer. He comes alive in the playoffs. He always plays well against us. Beauvillier is nasty. I think he's got great hands in tight, good speed. Those 2 guys concern me the most out of anybody. I know Barzal is the obvious, but those 2 guys still haunt me in my nightmares. I think for the Pens, it's all about Jari. I mean, we've seen what he can do this season. He's played really well, but the playoffs, as we all know, is a totally different animal, and he's going to be determining how deep the Pens go. I will say, and I mean this quite seriously, this Pens team, to me, is the deepest team that the Penguins have ever had in the Crosby-Malkin era. And I don't throw that around lightly because we've had some really good teams who have done a lot of good things. But this season, more than ever, with Malkin going down, Crosby's been relatively healthy all season, but the depth has just been there. And if we can continue that, I think the Penguins are a team that not many people are talking about for the Cup Finals. You hear a lot of Vegas, Colorado, Toronto. Not hearing a whole lot of Pittsburgh, which is something I like. I kind of like being that dark horse. So should the Pens win? Yeah. Am I really scared? Yeah, I'm terrified because the Islanders still haunt me. And I think Eberle's going to have a game or 2 where he just gets like 2 or a hattie, and I'm going to end up trying to break my television. Dean, what do you got? I mean, we're pitter-pattering a lot here.
I know.
But
the one thing I will say that makes me a little confident is we've seen how good Barry can be with a couple days off, even a week to prepare. It's concerning how bad, like they got worked by Buffalo and the Devils for 4 games in a row. But
Yeah.
I'm maybe being a little delusional, hoping that he's been kind of saving some tricks for the playoffs. I think he knows how good Pittsburgh is because they really are. They're loaded. But yeah, like you said, it's going to come down to getting timely goals, which has been an issue all year long.
Who's your X factor for the Isles?
Any goal scorer. Everly, Beauvillier.
Everly.
I think the most underappreciated Islander is Nick Leddy. I think he doesn't get talked about enough.
That's
He's
facts.
realistically a top 10 defender in the league. He's the best skater on the team, even better than Barzal. So he's going to hopefully be able to handle Crosby, Malkin, their top line. And then it comes down to the rest of the D crew. Scott Mayfield's going to get walked for 4 goals. He's the worst player in the league.
I love that. Oh my God.
I've been saying it for years. They got to get rid of it. But, that's just crazy
man.
fan talk.
I think my X factor for the Pens, I'm going to go with Jared McCann. And I say that because he's had a really good season. And I've said he's got the talent to make some serious noise. And he's done that this year. And in the event that Malkin goes down, because he is kind of nagging an injury and he played in the last game of the season, but he had to leave the game early. It's been nagging him. He is going to play game 1, but I worry about him being fully healthy for the whole series. If he goes down, I think McCann is going to have to be one of the guys who steps up big. He's got the talent to do it. Final prediction. I'm going to go Pens in 7 because it's never fucking easy.
Yeah, I'll go Isles in 7. I mean, if they score, they got a shot. It's going to be tough for them to score. In terms of betting, though, I don't know how you touch any of these games or this series at all.
Yeah, it's a coin flip at this point.
Yeah.
So
if they score, they'll be all right. I don't have too much confidence, as you could probably tell.
Yeah. It's all good. At least you're being honest and not coming on and saying
I
they're
could
going to
come
sweep.
and lie and say that they're rolling and they're a wagon. But
yeah.
You could look at their last 4 games and realize that they went 1-3 against 3 of the worst teams in hockey. So
yeah. Well, I respect your sportsmanship and best of luck to you, but I swear to Christ, if Eberle fucks me, I don't know what I'm going to do. There's going to be something bad that happens.
Well, you could lock 2 things in. Eberle scoring a big goal.
Yeah.
And Scott Mayfield getting dog walked by Crosby for a big goal. I wish you could parlay those 2 things. I'd put everything I had on it.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm gonna go with the Penguins in 6. I love the Islanders. They're my secondary team, which doesn't really work out because I also kind of hate them. But like my mom grew up on Long Island and all that, so I hate picking against the Islanders because I know just what they could do in the playoffs. But I think this is a bad matchup for them. They slowed down a lot towards the end of the year. I don't know what the issue there is, but there's something. I think they got to figure it out a little bit. Like I think there was like you go into the playoffs last year and you look at the way the Caps were with Reardon and everything. Like there were clear issues with that hockey team where it just didn't something wasn't lining up, and you could tell towards the end of the season, like as we rolled into the playoffs. But I see similarities here with the Islanders. Like I think they had such a good start to the year, but the way they finished the season just makes me think there's some kind of issue that they got to figure out. Like I don't know if it's a staffing issue or if it's a personnel issue with the players, but something doesn't quite line up. So I would say Penguins 6 games, and my X factor is probably Jari for the Penguins. Because I will say that Varlamov has been a stud all year long. He's been so good. So he could definitely steal this series if Jari doesn't perform well. But yeah, Jari for the Penguins, and then probably say Eberle, honestly, for the Islanders. I think if he can get the goal scoring going, he can kind of be that spark in the lineup for the other guys to get going. You'll see guys like Brock Nelson, Josh Bailey start get to goal scoring a little bit more when Eberle's scoring as well. So yeah.
There's a lot of unproven goaltenders in the playoffs that are getting some looks this year. We have Nedeljkovic and now Jari. You got the guys for the Caps, so a lot of unproven stuff out there. As for my series prediction, flip a coin. Tails. Islanders in 7.
Oh, fuck off. Okay. Whatever. So you and Dean are Isles in 7. I got Pens in 6. And
I got Pens in 6.
I had Pens in 7. My bad.
Yeah.
Mac has Pens in 6. Yes. Should be a good one.
Yeah, this is one that I think a lot of people are looking at, a couple other series on our list here and going, oh, that's going to be a bloodbath. This is going to be a bloodbath. I think this one might be the nastiest out of all of them. So,
well,
yeah.
I think the next one will be.
Yeah.
There's one other, but
Yeah.
I think this one is going to it's
Yeah.
like by the time we get to game 3, I think this is going to be just an absolute gong show.
Dean, if I'm gonna have to start texting you to be like, are the Isles gonna blow it? Are the Isles gonna blow it? And you're gonna have to tell me yes, or else I'm gonna break down. The Islanders just give me so much anxiety, but we'll move on from the series.
too.
All right. So the last playoff series we have to get to is the number 2 Washington Capitals versus the number 3 Boston Bruins. Boston is 4-1-2 against the Caps this season. It'll only be the 4th time these teams have met in the postseason, and the first time since that fateful Joel Ward opening round matchup in 2012, where the Caps knocked off the Bruins as defending champs. So, Mac, first impressions when you heard that the Caps were playing Boston, and now that you've had some time to let it marinate, what's your outlook here?
I think first impression, scared. The Bruins are a good hockey team. It makes total sense to me why they would be minus 155 and the Caps would be plus 125. Yeah, they're wagging. They're clicking at the right time of year. Taylor Hall is sick now because, of course, I said that last episode too. But now that I've let it marinate a little bit, I don't know. I think this is going to be a bloodbath of a series. Both teams are physical, although I do think the Caps have a slight edge in that department. Goaltending is the tough thing because Rask is a hell of a player. I think typically the Caps do well against him is the thing, and I think Ovi typically does very well against Tuukka. So that's going to be a big X factor. I obviously think Ovechkin is probably my X factor for the Caps just because of the player he is in the playoffs, especially. But also the X factor for the Caps is going to be staying healthy. I mean, I don't know who we're going to have available. It's funny that Alan May said last game that Caps may never see Kuznetsov again. I mean, who knows, dude? I have no idea what's going on with some of these guys, but I don't know. What are you thinking?
So as of right now, they're walking into a series against the Boston Bruins, who have pretty much been one of the 3 hottest teams over the last 2.5 weeks.
Yep.
And they're walking into it, like you said, they don't know who they're going to have. And I think that's fine when you look at forward depth. Okay, Oshie might not play in game 1. That's fine. They can work around that. They've got enough guys where they can sort of just plug and play. A replacement's not going to be the same, but someone can, plug in on 4 and bump up from there. I think the bigger problem is they're now walking into a playoff series against one of the toughest teams in the NHL with a very unproven goaltender in Vitek Vanacek. And I read an article the other day that actually kind of sums up how his last couple of games have gone, where I forget who wrote this, but they described him as a really high adrenaline goaltender that's just been running out of gas lately. Like, I really hope he's not running out of gas, but I think maybe we're asking too much of him at this point. I don't know. It's just unproven. It's untested. We don't know. And then, you look down the other end and the Bruins have 4 goalies that have played well for them this year. They had, Rask and, Halak and then
Darth Vader.
Right. And Swayman. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they've got that's just goaltending. And then you start to look at, that monster first line that they have
is
just so
I
scary.
hate it so much.
And the Bruins, very similar to the Penguins, are they're that team that just somehow they get lines 3 and 4 scoring every year in the playoffs. Like a guy like Craig Smith is going to get like 4 goals in that series.
Yeah.
It's going to be just so frustrating. But that was my first initial impression. Now that I've had time to let it settle, I think you can probably give the Caps a little bit of an advantage when it comes to firepower up and down the roster, I would say. I would also give them a hair advantage on defense. just because I think the Bruins have some questions on the back end, but I think it's 100% advantage Boston when it comes to goaltending, and
I guess
that's what scares
another
me.
X factor is Chara, but yeah, go ahead, Harry.
Am I fair to say that I would probably I'd say offense is, I guess you could call it even. I mean, maybe you could give the Caps a little edge. You give the Caps defense, and then you give the Bruins goaltending.
Probably.
Pretty much. And I would give the Caps defense by that much.
Yeah. Well, the one thing too that I think also works in the Caps' favor is that they're taking the bull by the horns or whatever, however that saying goes, right? It's
you got it.
The hardest team first, basically. And no offense to the Penguins or the Islanders, but I think that the Bruins are like the team to beat in this division right now, honestly. So if you manage to do it in the first round, suddenly
it's a lot of momentum.
Maybe you can help yourself roll through the next round or something, but first you got to do that, right? So I don't know. I'm tempted to. I really wanted to finally not be a homer and like to do the smart thing and pick the Bruins in this series, but like I think I have to pick the Caps in 7. Especially Dean picked his Isles. I got to stay true to my heart, so I'll probably go Caps in 7.
Now, will you actually bet it? That's what I want to.
I will. I actually will, especially at plus 125. I certainly will.
I think for value, like if you're going to bet a series and you're like, you want like a plus in front of it where a team has a legitimate chance of winning, this probably is going to be your best one.
Yeah.
Dean, let's hear your analysis.
Bruins are scary. They're really, really good. Yeah. They're heating up right now. And it's crazy because earlier in the year, there was questions of if they were going to even make the playoffs. I don't know how that was a question, but obviously since then, they've just been pouring it on. Taylor Hall has fit in beautifully. It's crazy how when you just get a guy out of Buffalo, he just lights it up. So that second line's scary. I agree with Nick. They have some question marks defensively, but I think their goaltending kind of is able to mask that at times. And I think a little bit of a spoiler, but they're one of my teams that makes the cut, Boston. So I think they're really, really good this year. They're deep, they're solid, and they're just the team you don't want to play in the playoffs at all. Marchand's going to get under your skin. Nick Ritchie's going to get under your skin. I think it's going to be a great series. I'm excited for this one, but I give the edge to Boston.
How many games?
I think it goes deep. 7. I could see a game 7.
I am not trying, and I genuinely mean this. I've been. You guys can grade me on this. I feel like I've been pretty fair on like Caps hate. Like I'm decently objective, and I tell you guys a lot that you think your team is worse than it is.
Yeah, I would agree.
I've said that to Courtney and stuff. I think the Caps injuries, it's just too many question marks for me, and the goaltending question mark is also there. And unfortunately, no Pens bias, the Bruins are the hottest team in this division right now, and I do not want to play them if we advance past the Islanders. I'm going to have to give it to Boston, and I would normally say 7, but given the injuries, I'll say 6 because I know Ovechkin's going to take at least a game or 2 by himself and take the team by storm, but I'm going to go Bs and 6.
I guess a good way to put it is I could see Boston winning in 5 or 6. I would be very, very surprised if Washington does.
Yeah.
Interesting. I honestly have no idea how this one is going to go. If the Caps show up and play like they're capable of, I think they could win in 6. They've matched up well with Boston in the past, specifically on the road. So that's something to keep in mind. The Caps also do have the best road record in the league over this past season. So I don't know. I mean, that's all fine and dandy, but at the end of the day, that's just numbers. So I'm probably going to err on the side of caution here and go Bruins in 6, just because, I agree with what you guys are saying. I think the Bruins will ultimately be the straw that breaks the camel's back here for the Caps. And, it's just one of the consequences of being in this division. But, I think it could very easily go the other way.
I think that's fair.
Well said.
That's a very fair assessment of your own team. So I give you props for
and that is a very smart emotional hedge.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the bigger point here.
Right.
If you don't,
I'm working with this right here. So
if you don't dream, you can't get your heart broken. So
exactly.
I like the emotional hedge.
Right. Yeah. Reverse psychology works every time.
Oh man.
Yeah. X factors for me. For the Caps, I think you're dodging question marks left and right, like you guys said. Goaltending's a huge question mark,
Zdeno.
Right. Zdeno's a good one. I'm going to go with Daniel Sprong. I think we're going to see him in the
okay,
lineup.
yeah.
I think this could be a series where if he gets like 2 or 3 goals, this could be 6 or 7 games going the
I
red
could
guy's
see him
favor.
scoring some stupid overtime goal that like
Yep.
puts us up like 2-1 or something like that in the series, and
Yeah.
suddenly we've got some momentum.
Yeah.
I would say your boy Mantha. I mean, shit, you
It's
got
a good one too.
put it out on the line there. I mean, you take away Jake the Snake, and he lit it up in Detroit. And Mantha's played pretty well. It's unfortunate that he's going to get compared to Verana's season so far, but this is what you got him for. It's that big body, that son of a bitch to play against, big heavy shot. This is a big heavy series. I'm gonna have to say Mantha's going to be your X factor.
I love that pick, honestly. I mean, we talk about what happens when you get a guy like Taylor Hall out of Buffalo. Talk about taking a guy out of Detroit too. It's kind of the same thing. So
yeah, absolutely. For Boston, I'm gonna say, is it Travis Frederick?
Trent Frederick.
Trent Frederick. You know what his job is this series.
Yeah.
And it's something that the Caps are all too familiar with in the past month. So I'm going to have to say him. He's going to muck it up.
if he gets a jersey, I don't know.
I think that's the other thing that people are sort of forgetting is how physical this is going to get.
This is the most physical series by a landslide in the entire playoffs. No joke.
I mean, this regular season set between these two was nasty.
Yeah.
So
well, and for that reason, I'm shocked none of you has said Tom Wilson. I feel like
just gonna swoop in and say him. I didn't know if that was gonna.
Take the Thunder. Take the Thunder.
Some red flags, but yeah, just given how physical it's gonna get, and the amount of national attention Tom Wilson is getting, I'm gonna keep it rolling with him. It's gonna be a bloodbath, and I don't know if Boston has a guy that can really step up and challenge him. Not many teams do, but I don't know.
It's not just him too. It's Dylan, it's Chara, it's Hathaway.
Yeah,
they
could
are
chuck 'em.
Those guys are nasty.
That's the one strong advantage that the Caps have against any team, but I do particularly like those players against Boston because you know that Boston knows that they're going to have to play against all those guys every night, and you know that it's living rent free in their heads a little bit right now.
It's kind of like roles reversed from the 2012 series where the Caps are this like big menacing, like what the big bad Bruins used to be, and the Bruins are the ones that are starting to catch fire right before the playoffs and stuff like that. So who knows? But yeah, I think your money on the Caps could be a good investment. Just saying.
Absolutely. Let's do a Stanley Cup prediction. Now, I understand, and I should have thought of this before we thought about this. It's not East versus West. The Final Four is going to be reseeded based on points. So you could theoretically have like the Hurricanes play the Bruins in the Stanley Cup.
Yep.
Or you could
that's
have,
right. Yeah.
You could have the Leafs play the Bruins in the Stanley Cup, which would be electric. So instead of doing Stanley Cup finals, because we don't know how all that's going to be seeded and stuff, let's do Stanley Cup winner. And then I want you to give one dark horse that you think could make some noise. Okay.
I'd also just roll through each division and give who you think takes that, and then kind of just throw your hat in the ring from there. You want
to start us off?
Yeah. I'll go. I guess I'll start with the East since we just did it. I did mention Boston. I think Boston takes this division. I think they're probably the deepest right now. And then in terms of two-way guys, that first and second line, no team has a first or second line that can match them. And then their goaltending is unreal. So I give the nod to Boston in the East. The North is going to be interesting. I don't think Edmonton has enough depth to really compete with Toronto. So I guess Toronto gets out. I'm excited to see them get rolled after that. But I do give the nod to Toronto there. And then the Central, this might be the most exciting division, honestly. Mm-hmm. But I give the nod. I want to see Florida go on a bit of a Cinderella run. I think if they do beat Tampa, they'll have some confidence. Beating Carolina is going to be tough, but I like Florida to roll there. And then the West is a doozy, but I think this is kind of the year that Colorado makes it out and makes a run. And I have them winning the Cup. I think they're my team for the Cup this year.
Solid choices all around. I'll go next. For the East, I do truly believe it'll be Pens Bruins, and that's a scary matchup. We suck at TD Garden, but you know what? I said that I think this is the deepest Pens team that we've had in pretty much the last 15 years. So I'm going to stand by it and pick the Pens to take the East. For the North, you already know who I'm picking. I'm going to go with the Leafs. I just think, like you said, I think it'll be Oilers, Leafs, and I don't think the Oilers have enough depth to
They have
hang.
no excuse not to.
Koskinen.
Yeah, they have no excuse not to make it out of that division.
Yeah, they kind of have to make the Final Four. There really is no option. They're playing a team who really shouldn't be in the playoffs, in my opinion, given their record. And then you're going to have a McDavid and Draisaitl team who, has.
And every team they played in the regular season shouldn't have been in the playoffs.
And that's a fair point. Exactly. The Central Division, I agree, Dean, is the interesting one. I know I had Carolina as my cup pick halfway through the year, but I said it earlier in the show. I feel like Florida's going to make some noise, and I like this Panthers team. They got that momentum rolling. So I am going to pick the Panthers to conquer the Central. And then for the West, it's tough. I think I honestly believe if Vegas can get past Minnesota, obviously they'll play Colorado, but I think Vegas could take that series in 7. It'll obviously be a bloodbath and the 2 cup favorites. I think Vegas is going to come out of the West. And then if you made me pick, oh God, I'm going to get roasted for this. I'm going to pick the Leafs to win the cup. Fuck it. I am. I think that I think that they have the hottest goalie, and that's a dangerous combination. I think that they have the chip on the shoulder this year. And unlike previous years, they have that presence in the locker room to calm them down. They have Jumbo Joe. They have Jason Spezza. They have Wayne Simmons. They have these guys who have been there, been to the playoffs a million times. And how can you not root for Joe Thornton to get a cup? I mean, come on. So obviously I hope the Penguins win, but if you want my honest opinion, I think people are sleeping on the Leafs. I think they're ready for it to implode, and I don't think it will.
It'd be a better Disney story than a real life scenario.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to get roasted for that, but
I'll make mine quick. I not too different than some of yours, but I have Cats coming out of the Central. Like you guys said it, I think they're a good team to make it out of that division as a little Cinderella story. God, the other one is so hard, especially because the way I picked it, it'd be Caps Penguins in that next round. I think the Penguins have played us really well all year, so I'm going to go with the Pens to actually make it out of the East. They are a really deep team, and I feel like this type of season they've had is the exact type where they just find a way to win the Stanley Cup. Yeah, Leafs are going to make it out of the North, no doubt. And then that's as far as they're going. And then the Knights for sure. I'm all over the Knights. I said it at the beginning. And then I don't know. I literally think it's going to be the Knights and the Penguins in the cup final. And I don't know what's going to happen. I honestly think the Penguins will win. I'm going to say Pens cup final.
Hell.
Yeah.
I'm hard.
Damn.
That would be amazing.
Mac, I'm with you. There's a couple of these where I'm just I have no idea, but yeah, I'm going to agree. I think the Cats make it out of the Central. I think just whoever wins that series between them and Tampa is probably going to have a leg up on Carolina or Nashville. So
Carolina's going to shove this up our hoop. You watch.
Yeah, exactly. For the West, I also feel like whoever makes it out of the West, whether it's the Avs or the Knights, is just going to the Cup. So I just think those two teams are just too good. So coin flip, I think I'm going to give it to Colorado. I think McKinnon wakes up and just does something unreal to get his team to that next step. And I think he's psycho enough to the point where he's I don't want to be criticized for not making it far in the playoffs these last couple of years. So I think he's going to do something nuts. I think the Leafs, Mac, I'm going to agree with you. I think they make it out of the North, and that's about it, as they should. They have no excuse not to win this division anymore. And if they don't make it out of this division, or if they lose to the Habs in the first round, it is going
to, Dean said, just fold the organization.
Priceless to watch that just implosion or riot between the two biggest hockey markets on the planet. But the Oilers and the Jets have no business making it out of that division. And then for the East, I think it's gonna be the Bruins. I think the Penguins are good. I just think in a 7-game series between the two, I have to give the edge to Boston in 7 games. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bruins.
Who's your cup winner?
Yeah.
I think the Avs. I think this is the year they sort of just, cross that bridge and get it done.
So what, Avs over like Bruins or something like that?
Avs over the Bruins. Yeah.
I
It'd be a great
realized
final.
realized after I said it that my final would be Fleury against the Penguins.
I
That'd
was
really
gonna
be
say
something,
that.
wouldn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
That'd be pretty cool.
Is that all of us? Did we all do it?
I think that's it.
So I had Leafs winning it. Mac has Pens winning it. Proud of you, Mac. Nick has Avs and Dean has Avs. Okay. Interesting. Great epi, fellas. Wow. That was electric. I'm so goddamn excited. Tomorrow can't come fast enough.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
gonna be a great postseason.
Yeah. My cousin's actually getting married tomorrow.
Oh man.
Oh,
And I'm
shit.
under like strict instruction not to be on my phone the entire
Oh
time.
god.
Rules are meant to be broken.
Right.
Yeah. No.
There you
My
go.
response to any time someone says that is it's the playoffs.
Yeah.
I have a beer league game tomorrow and I'm not going.
Right.
Yeah, I was looking at the hockey schedule, like beer league, like you were saying, and trying to match it up with the Pens schedule. So we'll see. I hate that the Pens get a 12 p.m. game on Sunday. I also hate, actually, throw all your Pens predictions out the window. They announced they're wearing mustard yellows the entire postseason, and I hate it.
saw that.
Fucked up.
Why?
Stupid.
They can't win the cup in those. All right.
I know, that's
my,
what I'm saying.
My prediction is trash.
It's the same reason Ricky Fowler hasn't won a major yet, right? Because he's wearing like Easter egg colors the entire
Can't win in
time.
candy ass
Oh
orange.
my
Right.
Oh man.
I speaking of getting yelled at for watching the playoffs when you're supposed to be like interacting with family. Last year during the playoffs, Dean and I were in North Carolina during the Caps Islanders series, and I remember one game. Of course, because they had to like reschedule everything. It's on at like 3.
Right.
And so he and I are like, trying to watch it on our phones in the pool, and our girlfriends are like, you guys need to be interacting with everyone.
And then also the 6 overtime game.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
God, yeah. I do remember that now that you mention it. Before we get out of here, want to give a shout out to Dave. Nick, I think you want to give a shout out to Dave too. Thank you for the beautiful assist yesterday. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for setting up Harry and for sponsoring this episode. As always, these Stanley Cup picks are brought to you by the Maryland Mortgage Wiz. If you're planning on buying your first home this year, get pre-approved and explore all financing options with Dave, the Mortgage Wiz. Interest rates are at a historic low and down payment assistance programs are available. Stop renting and put your money in a place that you can call home. Follow Dave on Instagram at Maryland_mortgage_wiz for more information. Dave is licensed in Maryland, Delaware, and Florida. Equal housing lender, NMLS number 3094.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave. Dean, we really appreciate you joining us. I know this is an early one, so
For sure. Yeah. Thanks, dude.
Appreciate you guys for having me as always. It's always fun.
best of luck to you in the first
Yeah,
round.
you as well.
I'm sure we'll be in touch.
We didn't touch on this, but I think it's hilarious that the league is just making the Canucks and Flames keep playing.
Oh,
I think
that
it's
is funny.
It's
Yeah.
like when you're in like a, when you used to play travel and you lose in like the first round and you
Yeah.
play consolation games on like Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
Hey, just let me go home, man. I
Right.
don't want to be
Parents are like, why are we?
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
Guys
Yeah.
couldn't make the finals.
Oh,
And then they're like, we're so proud of you, son. For
Right.
when you come out of the game. Yeah.
before we jump off, in any sort of conversation that you have about me from now on, you should address me as fantasy hockey champion.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank
Is
you.
that 200 or so bucks going straight to the car?
Yep. So it's
Yep.
already gone.
Okay. Yeah.
Good. Now you gotta
Right.
get it straight to the Oilers first round. That's the lock of the century.
Yeah.
All righty, boys. Well,
One last thing. I would just like to tell everybody to buy merch. Simple as that.
Yes,
Buy
buy
merch.
that. Yeah.
yes, Dean, thank you for repping it.
Yeah,
Thank
buy
you to
merch.
those who have bought merch recently, because we had some recent purchases, and we thank you for your support.
The summer drop is coming soon. We'll keep you guys updated on
Yes,
that.
sir. Good stuff.
Yep.
All righty, fellas. Let's enjoy the weekend. Unfortunately, let's get back to work, and we'll be back with you guys early next week for our twice a week episodes that are now going to be starting. And without further ado,
Class dismissed.